Boom. So Lou Martin here with my fellow American expat and man of mystery, man of wisdom, man of good humor, and lots of music, Isaac George. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Nice to be on the show. I guess you would call it a show.
Yes, we'll call it that. We'll get away with
Thanks,
that.
Lou.
Sure, Isaac. My pleasure.
And how are you doing out there in Zoom land?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, we're all living on Zoom these days. I've been living like this for 7 years. Honestly, I've not done a group in person in years, with a few exceptions. So this is old hat for me. But you've been doing these great, and you do these great coffee breaks at 3 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday, British summertime. And I really want people to know about that. I've been posting them on my page quite proudly, because you have just tons of information, and you're great at getting down to the truth of things. You've been talking about this G and electronics and electrical influence and invisible rainbow and yeah, some of these things, just consciousness and what's happening in the world, and how conscious people are challenged to respond to it, I guess, is a good theme.
Oh yeah, I'm just getting started. Wait till I start talking about sex.
That gets everyone's attention.
Yeah, everybody goes, "What did he say?"
Yeah. Now you got it.
A long time ago, a yoga teacher in Sedona said, "Isaac, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but you really are a spiritual entertainer." And I thought about, what would Johnny Carson look like, doing this kind of shtick?
Sure.
But seriously though, the coffee breaks, I try to find this balance between the whimsical and the commonplace, and really out there topics and things that might make people squirm a little bit, but presented in a way, especially in a coffee break. It sounds like somebody's podcast.
Sure.
That's like going to talk about gardening or something, to keep it grounded, but keep it in a sense really cutting edge and pushing the envelope, pushing the boundaries on people's awareness. Because I
love about it.
I've been accused of being a walking encyclopedia all my life, so I've acquired a lot of things, but also a lot of what I feel I've touched on is stuff that's been remembered, especially since the episode of my third spiritual woo-ha Big Bang Wake Up, which was the Kundalini Awakening in 1994.
Okay.
We haven't really had that much to talk about, or a chance to talk about stuff when I was in Ireland. But
sure.
I haven't had a normal life at all. And so since that kind of gives me a handle on what is abnormal or what is out of whack or out of sync on planet Earth. Ever since I was 4 years old, I looked around and said, "What's going on here?
Sure.
What is this place really about? What is going on behind the scenes that nobody else is seeing?"
Sure.
And so from a very early age, I felt very estranged from my, who are my parents? Who are they? What is this place about?
Right.
So we fast forward to the now, and it's like one of the most difficult things, I think, for our generation has been the willingness to stick our heads above the parapet and come out and just be who we are. And, speak from that deep place of like, well, I can't necessarily always prove what I'm saying, but it's what I feel is right.
Right. My own job description, Isaac, is...
I can't hear you all of a sudden. What happened?
I don't know.
Did I mute you? No, I didn't mute you.
Yeah.
The audio went bye-bye.
Really? Oh, okay. How about now? Anything?
You have me now? No? Interesting.
Mercury just went retrograde.
Yeah.
I mean, direct.
Right.
I heard something. What was that? No? There was a little tick. Oh, never mind. I see what happened. My fault on my side.
Okay.
How did that happen?
Okay. Problem solved. Yeah. No, that's great. That little excitement for both of us. Get our attention.
Mercury's direct, but it's not out of the shadow period, so I have an excuse.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I mean, my job description is God's holy fool, and you know, anything for a laugh. And it's lonely at the top, but the view is better. You
Is the
know,
yoke on you?
yes, often it is, and that's brilliant. But I think a lot of people felt, you know, that we were getting ready for some time of dramatic change, and you know, here it clearly is. Was this? Did you feel this coming before it unfolded the last year or so?
Uh, yeah, I kind of come from the place, and this was something that was reflected to me again in 1994, my like
Hmm.
big exploding year.
Hmm.
Anything that is most personal is also most universal. And based on that, I was watching what was going to come in 2020 in 2014. Why? Because, you know, the personal blueprint or map of my own birth chart, my natal chart,
Hmm.
indicated, okay, this is when the planets Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter are all going to be converging on your natal moon, Isaac. What in the world is that going to feel like?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
after what you've been through so far, all these stages of
Sure.
kind of explosive growth and then settling down and then explosive growth, um, or emergence or remembering. And
Yeah.
I just went, you know, this isn't just about what changes I'm certainly going to experience or
Right.
feel.
Right.
It's about what's going on globally, because the other thing that started, you know, that I became aware of maybe 10 years before that was the fact that there were certain elements or planets or aspects in my natal chart that dovetail with the American
Yeah.
birth chart, July
Okay.
4th, 1776. So
Right.
I went, okay, so the United States is coming up on its Pluto return in 2022. And that's certainly going to be something to be reckoned with.
Sure.
So if I'm having to reckon with myself and my emotional nature and my ideas about what security looks like, being that I have a moon in Capricorn in the second house of security, finances, resources, so forth, I just went, okay, there's something. I have to look beyond the personal or the individual, and I have to say, all right, what else is there? What are the messages? Sort of like, what is the oracle saying? And the oracle at that time was giving me very strong indications this would be a pivotal year, as pivotal as 9/11 was in 2001,
Right. Right.
if not more so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that was an explosive and unexpected event.
Right.
And some of the astrological signatures of September 11th, 2001 are also evident in the first 6 months of this year.
Sure. Sure.
So let's understand astrology. Your audience needs astrology is not just something that it's not a predictive tool per se,
Yeah.
but it does give a lot of backstory as to what has happened before and
Yeah. Yeah.
when did it happen and how are things looping around into
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same yet unique in its own expression.
Sure. Do you know this Vedic astrologer Joni Patry?
Not a familiar name, but
Okay.
I'm familiar with Vedic
Sure,
astrology. Yes.
sure. So she talked us through, she said, so here we are, the plague of 2020, 18 years before we have 9/11, 18 years before we have HIV AIDS, 18 years before we have death of JFK, 18 years before we have Hiroshima, Nagasaki, 18 years before, et cetera, et cetera. So that got my attention, as you might imagine.
The other cycle that goes with that is the 20th, or any year ending in zero, especially in the United States cosmology.
Right.
So 1860, Abraham Lincoln is elected. Well, he ends up dying in office.
Right.
1880, William McKinley, who dies in office.
Right.
You find this repeated over
Sure.
again. 1940, beginning of the World War II, basically.
Yeah.
1960, Kennedy gets elected.
Yeah.
1980, Reagan gets elected.
Right.
He almost dies in office.
Right.
2000, everybody's got the millennium bug and everybody's, Y2K. Oh my God. And the whole world's going to fall apart because of a bad line of source code.
Right.
And
Which didn't happen, evidently. Yeah.
it didn't happen. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
it didn't. But a lot of people don't remember that was also the same year that the first inklings of what would come in terms of the Apple iPhone and Google
Mm.
especially
Mm.
was, you know, and then that was the year of the dot-com crash as well.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
so all those things, those 20-year things, I look at that 20-year cycle. Well,
Yeah.
what's up for this one? So I was looking at that as a repeating pattern again from the
Sure.
past.
Sure.
So here we are, and you know, the perfect storm. And it's like you're talking about.
Yes.
You've been doing this online thing for 7 years, and
Yeah.
I have and I haven't. I haven't been really out in the public eye probably since I moved to Scotland. Well, or just before I moved to Ireland. I think 2008 was the last time I did a public presentation in the
Okay.
UK,
Okay.
out there physically. Whereas the prior 10, 11 years, I was on the road constantly in
Right.
the US, Hawaii, Canada.
Right.
I don't consider Hawaii as a state. I just say that's another universe, that place.
It's a state of mind. It's a state of mind.
State of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Hawaii state of mind.
Yeah.
Same with Sedona. But
Right.
it really kind of thought, you know, I got to get out there and talk to people about this. And sure enough, the opportunity just arose out of nowhere.
Okay.
A local kind of crystals and therapy shop in
Right.
Ely here
Right.
was putting together a fair for January 12th, 2020, mind, body, spirit kind of thing.
Okay.
And they got the biggest venue in Ely, and it was packed all day long. And I was
Right.
giving the talk on, guess what, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction of 2020 and what lies beyond for the whole decade.
Yes.
Well-attended talk, had 30-some people and lots of
Very good.
questions.
Very good.
And I did soft pedal a lot of what I knew or sensed was going to happen.
You didn't go, oh
And
my God.
the crowd looked pretty glazed over by the time the end of the talk happened. And I do have that in my YouTube channel. By the way,
Okay.
referring back to the coffee break live updates, I put everything,
Okay.
every one of those little coffee breaks go on my YouTube channel. So I'll
Right.
have to send that link to you.
All right. Thank you.
But that's also where this talk is,
Right.
in audio form only.
Right. Right.
But it was interesting to see then in short form after that,
Yeah.
the whole thing develop out of China.
Yeah. Yeah.
In reality, for anybody who's listening on your program who's really into astrology, this whole thing really began from an astrological standpoint with that massive solar eclipse on December 26th, on Boxing Day.
Right. Right.
That's really the kickoff, because not just because of Pluto Saturn, but because of what that eclipse was under in Capricorn. So we
Okay.
got, you know, it sort of lit the fuse.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did.
Yeah. So
Right. Right. Brilliant. Well, you're doing great work, Isaac, with sharing with people spiritual practices of empowerment. You call it spiritual hygiene, and you know, this is your one-on-one sessions. I'd love to hear more about that. We don't really get into that too deeply on your coffee breaks.
no, I try to keep those things to 20, 30 minutes.
Sure.
It's hard. It's difficult. I'd
Sure.
love to, you know, I will be resurrecting a proper radio show. We have it mothballed in the US on Blog Talk Radio, but
Right.
I'd give me a 2-hour window.
Okay.
And have guests on, you know, like
Yeah.
yourself and other people. I can actually have interviews.
Great.
I want to be, you know, kind of follow in the footsteps of Art Bell.
Yeah. Good.
You know that name.
Yeah. Good one. Sure.
That's kind of where it's going. But the spiritual hygiene, well, that goes back to my channeling days. That goes back to, you know, in the wake of the Kundalini awakening, something I never wanted any part of personally. Channeling just sort of happened, and I think there's some kind of soul contract around that.
Yes. I got to
and
see
I
a
was
channel here in Ireland. If you remember.
Oh, once, yeah.
Yes,
that was an anomaly.
Well,
I got pushed into that.
I felt lucky for that opportunity, for what it's worth. That was nice. Nice
Well,
evening.
thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, that was certainly a one-off. That was an anomaly, but I'd forgotten about that. I know where it was too.
I thought I'd ring your bell. You know.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah.
But the thing that came with that was a whole set of information from two different avenues. One was ET Earth Mission, and the other one was Angelic Outreach. Now, Angelic Outreach was probably closer to my heart because of the channeling I was kind of like led into, or it just started happening with Archangel Ariel.
Yes.
And the previous channel for that entity or aspect of consciousness was Tashiro Tachi Ren. Well, the book, What is the Light Body? And all of the
Okay.
attendant materials to Angelic Outreach had loads of these tools.
Yes.
They didn't call them spiritual hygiene, but I ended up calling it.
Okay.
And it was all these sort of like, how should we say, empowerment and ascension tools?
Yes.
Empowerment, ascension tools.
Yeah.
And that's just the one thing I appreciated most about those two aspects or organizations was the fact that they didn't shy away from the shadow stuff. They didn't do the spiritual bypassing thing.
Yeah.
And they addressed and directly confronted the issues of dark forces and boogies and thought
Yes.
forms and all that
Yes.
stuff.
You better
And they
get
did
on
it
with
with a
it.
sense of humor, which was
Good.
really amazing.
That's important.
They did it with a sense of humor, but they basically, anything uncomfortable they brought up, they always couched it in terms of like, you know, there's nothing really to be afraid of.
Yes.
You know, here's
Yes.
who you are if you
Yes.
choose to embody it,
Right.
own it.
Right.
And you
Good.
know, light and love are the superior force. You're not. Don't get into power struggles with things you don't understand.
Right. Right.
And then the rest of it is just like basic alignment stuff. Not making the ego a bad guy and that kind of thing.
Right. Right.
And basic alignment stuff to deal with not just energetics, or disharmonious energetics or adverse astrological influences and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was also about becoming aware that in the environment that we're currently experiencing, we all have to deal with artificial electromagnetic fields, and they covered that. And we're talking 1989,
Okay.
1991. This
Okay.
is how cutting edge these guys were.
Okay.
So to me, they were like the advanced guard of
Yeah.
the wave of consciousness and remembering
Right.
that was sort of one step or two steps back from what was overtly sort of
Sure.
new age.
Sure. Yeah.
They weren't mainstream. They
Yeah.
weren't as well recognized. And for that reason, I think a lot of people missed out on what they had to offer.
Well, I think the timing is very auspicious towards you know, what you've been sharing on Coffee Break, and what my perception is, which is why I you know, wanted to have this chat for a little bit here, because you know, definitely we're entering a new reality, and we can either go kicking and screaming, which is usually the popular way to start, you know, as you're saying, or we can arm ourselves or empower ourselves, better said, you know, and prepare for this incredible opportunity that we're living through.
Well, the whole thing is a big opportunity. It's a big step up to the plate and evolve human race, or you know, your compost.
Right. Yeah, that makes
that may sound a bit absolute to a lot of ears, but I think this is what the planetary intelligence is saying. I would love for my children to wake up and cooperate with me and not with their ideas of what the future should look like.
Sure.
Because basically the dreaming that is going on by these divine aspects, or what else you can call it, other dimensionals, and the aeonic consciousness that the Gnostics speak of are really sort of our, I don't know, inventors sounds very, very cold. Parents sounds a little bit too small.
Well, elder
I'm big
brothers
on the Gnostic
sisters.
perspective because it cuts through all the religious spiritual jargon.
Sure.
And the aeonic consciousness is supposedly the ones responsible for creating the human genome, based on sort of source consciousness saying we will, you know, create a life form that actually embodies the divine spark.
Right.
And so like artisans or engineers or scientists or poets, that's what they did. And they seeded the third spiral arm of this galaxy with that creation. And boom, here we are.
Right.
So the planet holds the codes, if you will, the Sophionic codes, and the Sophionic, and Sophia is dreaming, but waking up from her dream. And we are, you know, we are animals just like every other mammal out there, but we contain something of her inimically in us.
Yeah, sure.
And it's the feminine. That's why every indigenous culture told us this ball of dirt and amazing water
Right.
mother.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
it's intrinsically
Yeah.
fact. She
Yeah.
is autopoetic. She is
Yeah.
intelligent. She is
Yeah.
alive. She is aware.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I absolutely agree with all that. And Aeonic, I'm somewhat familiar with, and Sophiac and the Gnostics and all of that. I'm just getting back into learning more about. Lazarus, my teacher of 33 years, says basically this is the repeat of the fall of Atlantis for a lot
In a
of
sense,
us.
that's the next. It's the repeat test. It's the
Yes,
loop, part of the loop.
yes, yes. That
Yeah.
this time we will succeed rather than losing ourselves to the archons. I think is the term, and so machine life versus spiritual life.
Yeah, it couldn't be clearer, could it? It could be more stark, the contrast between technology and nature.
Right.
I think
right.
if you just look at it from that perspective without going into any other stories,
Yeah.
then you're really forced, each individual, I think, is really sort of forced, at least encouraged, to choose. And
Sure.
it's not about bad guys and good guys. It's about what is going to serve humanity and the cosmos going forward, and what is essentially an evolutionary cul-de-sac or dead end.
Yes.
It has no growth potential. When you just look at the words artificial intelligence, it says it all. It's not real. It's
Right.
virtual. It is a mimic, and that is, you mentioned the word archon, which was of course inserted into the dialectic by John Lash after he retranslated all the Gnostic Gospels.
Okay.
That entered the dialogue in 2006 with the publication of his book. Nobody knew
Okay.
what an archon was before that. At least I never heard it.
Right.
And it's talked about. I mentioned it the other day in coffee break. Carlos Castaneda and his teacher, the Yaqui
Don Juan.
sorcerer Don Juan, and the alien installation, the mind parasite. And if you walk around on the planet without realizing who you are really or what you are really, beyond the story of your ego, your consciousness, or your parents, or your cultural, Terence McKenna, culture is not your friend because it gives you an identity that is not real.
Right.
And when you are willing to do the work to cut through that and find out how amazing you are, how amazing everything else is, then there is no way you can do any harm, because it would only harm yourself.
Well, that's right. That's right, Isaac. I mean, you're making a really brilliant point, which is, to me, this is, you said the feminine, the divine feminine, this is the time of the heart, and so we are really, truly, any of us that have, like, I was relating to your story before our technograph, techno boogie, yeah, I mean, I felt my whole life like
Is that a new dance move?
Well,
Techno-boogie.
you feel free.
I'll have to get composing back there.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about music at some point, but I'm not sure today is the day. But
all right,
yeah, we'll get there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I really did not know you. I've learned who you really are through your coffee breaks. In my little interactions and projections with you and our dear friend Lynn and all of that, I was in a different bubble. And as I got to know you, seriously, I raised my hand, my friend, make amends here. I'm like going, wow, this guy is really, really informed, and he's been on it for decades, and I need to spend some time with this chap. But truly. But like yourself, I always felt that I was on a mission here, and I didn't know what it was. And that didn't kick in until I had my awakening at 30, which we're just having the 33rd anniversary of the harmonic convergence.
87. Yeah.
Yes.
Is that it? Yeah. 33rd. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
There's a group you may not know of called unify.com, and they've been doing, they're very good. They've been doing brilliant videos about this, and they say this time is the most similar time to that energy right now. But we're learning to live from our heart. We're learning to harmonize and balance with the divine feminine, the right brain, to be intuitive, to live from the inside out, to treat all life with respect, to make amends and clean up our act in the shadow, as you said, where we've fallen short or where we see that things need to be different. So, I think there's just tremendous hope about all of this as well, that there's, especially with the younger people in the world and their different vibration, but all of us that are open to this, I think we can grow spiritually like humanity has never imagined possible in this time.
I think, yeah, I agree. I completely agree with everything you just said. I think it's honest to recognize there is a lot arrayed against change that will absolutely resist it. Eckhart Tolle's even spoken of. He says there's a lot in the world that will resist you trying to operate on a different tangent.
Sure.
A close friend of mine who's a sort of a shamanic astrologer in Seattle calls it, he says, what we have been trained or in, brainwashed to believe in is yang tegrity, which is to do things. We've got to have a plan. We've got to have a scheme. We've got to have this. We got to execute it in a certain way. There's got to be a certain discipline or protocol to get a certain result. And the new way, which we're trying to operate from yin tegrity in a yang tegrity world, and yin tegrity is sort of like, I'm going to do whatever I darn well please, whenever I darn well want to do it. It's like it's completely coming. Not just, I mean, this thing is beyond brain. I think that's a limitation.
Right.
And when we get into this idea of the oneness, which is, I know, a big kind of thing that I see it all the time on social media. But one of the things that I find humorous or paradoxical is when people will talk oneness and then trash the ego or trash their shadow stuff or trash some aspect of human behavior or whatever, and make themselves wrong for it to boot. And it's sort of like, well, there's another separation game.
The guilt, shame, blame
game. This is
game.
okay, but this is not.
Sure. Yes.
And that's why I go back to, like, I'm all of a sudden having these epiphanies. Go back and reacquaint yourself with the angelic outreach perspective or the ET Earth mission perspective. By the way, ET Earth mission was a hoot because they were these Arcturian walk-ins that just dumped all this incredible stuff in the space of 2-3 years, and then poof, they were out of here. But one of the great things that they left was to love the wholeness of your being, and if there is something in you that you judge to be wrong, it can't be, because your divinity put it there for a reason.
Yes.
So if you can't accept it, then you start a war. You can't win.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. I mean, that's the wisdom of compassion.
It's integration. It's integrating the wholeness of your being, which means there are going to be days when you have a bad hair day, and you might as well just inform everybody about it and don't fight it.
Right. Well, yes.
And sometimes you run into people like that all the time, and they're your DA or designated asshole, and actually they're performing a spiritual function for you. Sure.
Well, yeah, so, we project the shadow unconsciously onto each other. That's the way I say it.
Yeah. But so the best and fastest way to collapse those paradoxes is to love the wholeness of that.
Yes.
So then then instead of oneness being sort of empirically sort of existential, it becomes realism. It becomes real.
Yeah, it's an experience. It's not an idea. It's my take on that.
It's your being self. It is your being self going, well, if you stop, if you do as your soul does or as source does, it won't judge you for anything.
That's right. Yeah. No, honestly, my friend, the peak moments, the transcendental moments, the epiphanies, the out-of-body experiences, the Kundalini awakenings, near death, whatever, those are the glimpse above the parapet where we go, oh my God, it's completely different and much better than I ever imagined possible. And then we come back into the skin suit, and we lose our perspective again, and we try to maintain that connection to the infinite. This is what the indigenous cultures of the world really hold for the Western mind, to my way of thinking, so beautifully, which is they do respect and revere that oneness with all of life, and we've forgotten that.
They have a dialogue with it as if we're just another human being, and this is the way John Lash saying is you can talk with Sophia just as you were going to have chat with a deer or a rabbit or
Sure.
a cat or your pet dog. You know,
Sure.
it's like they'll listen. Not only that, they'll talk back.
Yeah.
It may be in pictures, you know, and visuals, but not and whatever. But it, you know, there's this intrinsic fear, I think, that's been sort of inbuilt with the prodigious involvement of the ego over the last 500,000 years. Well, it's probably more since the Renaissance. That there's a fear of letting go of that, because to subsume yourself into the great all that is requires that surrender. It requires that undifferentiated experience.
Sure.
And then everybody, you know, goes, yeah, I want that. And it's like, no, I don't want that. There was
everyone wants to go to heaven.
I won't be able to pay my bills.
Right.
There's a cute thing. There was astrologer Jeffrey Wolfreen, who I followed for a long time. He says there are two primary forces in the core identity of the soul, and that is to merge with everything, all that is, and to differentiate from it.
Sure.
And there's this push-pull all the time.
Sure.
And yet those two polarities, that yin and that yang, are still part of what is one.
Yeah.
Stop making a differentiation of one better than the other.
Sure.
So I think the shamans found a way to embody that transcendental experience as a daily event or a daily thing.
Right.
This is just my opinion.
Sure.
This is my opinion.
Yeah.
It's only because I went through that Kundalini awakening for 6 years, and I was living with 1 foot in 2 worlds all the time.
Wow.
Functionally here and good at it.
You just won the record. You just got the record on that one. Yeah.
So, and yeah, well, yeah, for about a year, I had to hire somebody to pay my bills and balance my checkbook, because I just couldn't. And here's an ex-accountant from the hospitality industry going, oh, I can't do this. Here, I'll pay you to do it.
Well, it says a lot of your character and your commitment. Bless you.
No, but I seriously couldn't for about a year and a half.
I believe you. I'm just saying you didn't leave the planet, and here you are sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us all. So it's all good.
Oh, well, thank you. But you know, the point I want to make is that around that kind of stuff is that there is an alchemy of realizing that the body is the bridge.
Right.
It is the bridge. This is what the tantrics know. This is what the old Egyptian alchemy was all about.
Sure.
Sexual tantra, spiritual tantra, however you want to call it.
Sure.
It wasn't about, it was about, again, part of that embracing the wholeness of your being includes the body, which has its own electromagnetic structure and intelligence.
Sure.
And so how do we bring that along? Well, if you're going to bandy the word ascension around, you have to include the body in that.
Of course.
Because it's about holding higher resonances and higher frequencies without disintegration, integration.
Right. I mean, this is well said, my friend. This is the time of purification. That's what the indigenous people have been telling everyone who listens.
It's losing those ideas or perceptions that are the boundaries.
Right.
Most people, it's like you say to anybody, you want to feel free? Yeah. Okay. No boundaries. Uh-oh.
Well, yes, but like you're saying, it's a paradox, isn't it, brother? Because we lose them and we come back to them different.
And both sides of the experience are equal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The darkness and the light are both alike to me is the one that comes to my mind from the Bible.
Yeah, well, yeah, sort of, let's consider darkness not bad.
Yeah, no, it's just the unknown and the mystery. It's when you fear the unknown and the mystery that then it has to show up as that.
That's the ego projection, or that's the fear of loss of temporal identity.
Yeah.
Fear of loss of temporal identity.
And
so what happens if I choose, you choose, I choose, anybody chooses to say, okay, I want to know who I am beyond my name, my social security number, my family of origin, my ethnic background, my cultural history, the idea of being human. Who am I? What am I?
Well, this is the other quote that comes to mind, my friend, is in the world, but not of the world. and living in the paradox. I mean, that is the question that all of us live with. And what my guides say, Isaac, is this is the most subjective time in our lives, because now that reality is fragmenting, we really are getting to see what we believe and live that belief more consciously than ever before. That's the challenge. And can we live
well, the challenge for me around that is there such a thing as empirical or absolute truth? I think there is, without coming into conflict with subjective truth. I can't always prove it, but it's like you can't escape certain facts being facts, but they are also part of the subjective.
Yeah. I mean,
if I drop an apple,
right,
it's going to fall.
Sure.
Okay, does that prove gravity is a true law? Exists? I don't know. It's because there's a law of attraction. Can't there also be a law of repulsion? Again,
sure.
yin and yang.
It's done unto us as we believe. I mean, I'm just full of biblical quotes here about how subjective it all is. I mean, the thing is, we need the darkness in order to see the light. We need the cold in order.
Contrast.
Yeah, exactly. Where we've given our power away, and where we're being forced now to take our power back, as you and I and Hannah Maria and other people are talking about, so many others, David Icke, etc., of course, is, look, folks, this is not the way it's being sold to you, and you better, think deeply, about the next few steps in this dance, because they're getting very impactful with what they're selling us, and we have to be very discerning.
The ante is going up.
Yes.
The amount of side betting is going up, and and the amount, the sheer overwhelming avalanche of disinformation and misinformation alongside nuggets of what could be true is also exponential. Growing exponentially. And that's part of this Neptune and Pisces now retrograde thing of like walking through a fog bank and trying to pick up objects in it and having them dissolve in your hand, because that is the way or nature of the post-truth era. It's like, it may look real, or one moment it's there and the next moment it's disappeared down the memory hole, and you're wondering if you're living in Orwell's 1984.
Sure.
And so it becomes, you can drive yourself crazy, and I have at times drive myself crazy. What is the truth? What is the truth?
I hear that. I do. My heart goes out to you. I mean, I mean, to me, truth is love, and love is truth, and
love is the only truth.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, it's like, anyone who's had these mystical experiences or lives with this sense of daily devotion, spiritual hygiene, as you say, to inner reflection and working and deepening and opening to your own deepest inner wisdom, and listening to that, honoring that, trusting that, to me, that's what we have to offer the world. That the map is inside of us, and I can't do it for you. You can't.
That's a good one. The map is inside of us. There you go.
Yeah. So if we go within deeply and sincerely with our heart, then divine creation guides us and blesses us. If we resist that, we're lost in the funhouse.
Another way to look at it is think of it as a big, huge divine experiment, and source doesn't demand anything nor want anything. So it's not that we're on our own. It's just that there is no intervention or intercession based on a de facto plan, except you can ask for help, or you can ask for guidance, or you can ask for clarity.
Yes.
And then pay attention, and
please
don't mess it up by saying, well, that might be the answer, but I think I'll have to think about it some more.
Sure. Well, my quote from my friends is, the heart knows what the mind struggles to believe.
Well, of course. Exactly. Yeah. There's always this intellect that's going to jump in and say, but remember what happened the last time?
Right.
Okay. Well, that's coming from subconscious, paper tigers from 20 lifetimes ago.
Sure.
So we're going to listen to the now more.
Yes.
And, what comes up in the now. And I think part of the idea of pretending, if anything, or actually accepting the fact that this is a grand experiment, this whole thing called the human genome, the anthropos, and not make it so like you're going to absolutely crumble if it doesn't work out, because that's not true. Everybody's going to survive whatever happens on some level. But if you can do that, you're going to be a hell of a lot less stressed out.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, love what you do what you love. This is my simple path, you know, and follow those like-minded
Those
souls
signals.
like
Yeah.
yourself, yes, who inspire and uplift and broaden my horizon and our horizons, and you know,
All we can
take
do is
take
put
what
up a
works.
mirror, and that mirror is just us being ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
it is exciting, Isaac. I mean, I'm really grateful to connect with you and get to hear what you have to say. You've got quite a
Well, it
lot.
sounds like we could have a few more dialogues if you want, but you know, this
I'd
seems
be
sort of like a
thrilled.
general.
I'd be thrilled.
Let's bounce all over the map and see what comes up, kind of thing, which I love. I love stream of
Sure,
consciousness
sure,
tangenting.
sure.
Well, Shelley, I drive Shelley nuts with it. She just says, "No, you're off on some tangent.
Well,
Where were we?"
no, you've just revealed my hidden wish, which was I was hoping that this could lead to further conversations. That would be brilliant.
Well, excellent. I think you're doing a real, you know, this is real, real stuff for people that I think who want to like get more of a handle on what's happening now and are willing to, you know, move beyond their comfort zone or safety zone
Sure,
and look at what's going on, try new things. Um, you know, set aside some of the sacred cows and cherished pets that they've had
sure,
internally,
sure,
because the whole society is being challenged on what it bases its beliefs on or its pictures of reality,
sure. Exactly.
opinions about those realities.
Yeah,
And um, the one thing that I will leave, you know, your
yeah,
audience with today
yeah.
is that there are two things, and that is there's nothing inside of you that isn't of you that doesn't want to help.
Right,
When
right.
you connect with that core, you know, reality.
Yes.
And the other one is um,
Good
basically
one.
follow your spirit, not
Yeah.
my spirit,
Right,
your
right,
spirit without
right.
hesitation, with each and every breath, each and every step without hesitation.
Brilliant, brilliant. That is perfect,
That's
my
it.
friend. That's perfect. Where should people go to find you and your great work?
just isaacgeorge.com, simple. And the what I'm going to do is on that homepage, which I haven't added it yet, is the YouTube channel, which I'll send to you
Good.
privately. The
Okay.
YouTube channel page, which I'm still developing.
Sure.
I'm on Facebook,
Yeah.
which you can just click on the Facebook links at the
Yeah.
bottom of any of the pages on the site.
Right. And coffee
Um,
breaks Tuesday,
the
Thursday.
coffee break lives, yeah, they're right now. They're Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. British summertime. I might even kick them off till 4 p.m. You know, move them ahead so they catch more of the West Coast crowd in the U.S., the LA crowd.
Yes, that is a wise thought. I would.
And
I
that could
would
be like a
support that.
breakfast show, you know,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Drive time special
Yes.
in California.
Well, I think you're ready for your moment, my friend. That's what.
Well, yeah, I used to do radio ads and be on radio. So
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. Everything's prepared us for this time. That's all I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
we got to pull all of those skills out of our little duffel bags and dust them off and try them out again
Yep.
and say, hey,
Yes.
you know, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Let's bring
Yes.
that to the party.
Good. All right. We'll talk music next time. How's that sound?
Music's fine.
Okay.
Grand.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Brilliant. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Lou. Blessings on your journey. Take
Okay, brother.
care. And
You too. Peace.
bye.